Hello, I'm Ryan, and welcome to my channel, Analyze This Mr. Bond, where I discuss the adventures of James Bond 007 and dig for what lies beneath the surface. Today we're digging into a question I get on my Instagram all the time. If you didn't know, I do have an Instagram. I'm very active over there. I'm more active on my Instagram account than I am here on this channel, sharing a lot of things that might be too small for a whole video. One of the constant refrains I get on my posts, especially anything related to the upcoming Bond film, Bond 26, is what is taking so long? In the past week, we've had some rumblings and rumors and gossip about Bond 26. Omega officially announced a partnership with Aaron Taylor-Johnson, sparking all sorts of speculation as to whether Aaron Taylor-Johnson is in fact our new James Bond. And then shortly thereafter, we started to get some follow-up gossip regarding Alfonso Cuarón's potential to direct Bond 26. Cuarón may be out of the running. He was rumored to be pretty central to the pitch when producers David Heyman and Amy Pascal took over their appointment, took over control of the Bond franchise on behalf of Amazon MGM. It was rumored that Alfonso Cuarón's take on Bond was at the center of those discussions and that they were working with him to flesh that out. If that didn't work out, I don't think there's any big warning signs there, but people feel anxious. After all, Bond fans have been waiting a very long time for Bond film news. This is a tremendously long break for the series, so it makes sense that all that waiting has just piled up, and now there's just a lot of tension and anxiety in the community. But realistically speaking, things aren't actually taking that long. I think people aren't aware of the complexities of the Amazon MGM deal when they took over control from Eon Productions. Before that deal was officially inked 2 months ago, handing over creative control from Eon Productions to Amazon, Amazon couldn't really do a lot. They were contractually obligated to follow Eon Productions' lead. Amazon was able to have input into the release strategy of Bond 26, but in terms of the actual creative development of Bond 26, that was very much in the court of Eon Productions. When that deal was inked, it empowered Amazon MGM to begin hiring talent to develop a new Bond film. And we saw a complete changeover in creative teams. Eon Productions is not involved with Bond 26 in any direct capacity. We have new producers who are just finding their footing, and that means they have to establish a story, establish a script, establish a director, not necessarily in that order. If they were looking at a writer-director like Alfonso Cuarón or, say, Christopher Nolan, they would obviously look to that director to come in first, lock the director in, and then begin developing the script because that director is going to have direct input there. But nevertheless, that takes a lot of time. If you go back and look at the making of Chronicles for the Daniel Craig era, sometimes it took 6 months to get a first draft of a script in place just so that people could read it, understand it, start to evaluate what the major set pieces are going to be, what the locations are going to be, what the characters are going to be. And the new producers, David Heyman and Amy Pascal, have only had 2 months. Alfonso Cuarón may be the first director they had serious conversations with. They might have been developing ideas, but the fact that that conversation might not have gone anywhere isn't cause for alarm. That just means the movie business is doing what the movie business does. You try to work with a bunch of people. Sometimes things don't work out, and then you move on to the next, and you keep moving until you form a solid creative team for your movie. Workshopping ideas and trying to find people that can be organic collaborators is part of creating a good team. And we have to give David Heyman and Amy Pascal time to form that team for Bond 26. Expecting them to have figured out exactly who's going to direct Bond 26 and who's going to star in it within 2 months of their taking over the mantle of James Bond producers is just probably not realistic. That does mean we are probably waiting a bit. I think 2027 is the earliest we will see a Bond movie, maybe early 2028. I know that's a long time to wait. I know that's going to fill some of you with despair, but that's just realistic. And we're still a ways out before this film properly begins production. I think realistically, in the most aggressive scenario, this film starts moving early next year, 2026, in terms of actual film production. If we're being realistic, it's unlikely that Bond 26 could start official proper production, building sets, getting ready to film any time before early next year. And that means at the earliest, you're looking at a Bond film in 2027. And I think realistically speaking, depending on who the director is, depending on how much time it takes to develop that story, it could creep over into early 2028. I think the good news is when we start to get those announcements, it is going to be really exciting. I feel the malaise as much as any of you do. I am anxious to just get a director's name, a screenwriting team, a release date, anything, just even a teaser poster at this point. But nevertheless, we have to be patient. We have to give this new creative team some space to really think through what this new Bond era is going to be, who's going to be participating in the creative team to make sure this film is a success. There's been a long delay. That's frustrating. We have to admit it. But given the current timeline, there's no cause for alarm that we haven't seen the needle move significantly within a 2-month period. That's all I really wanted to say. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments. I'm sure I'll get some passionate responses. This always brings up some passionate feelings among Bond fans, and I look forward to chatting with you all there. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.